because it was it was a snooze fest last night. It really was. I mean, there were some surprises. The South Korean movie. I was glad to see that they were actually stepped out of their comfort zone and awarded a movie that probably deserves it. I personally have not seen it, but have read good things about it. There were some movies that were recognized, and, while they were good, I don't know that they deserved to have an Academy Award. But so that's my award. My award is kind of a because I thought the Oscars were just, I just said that. the Oscars were just, just downright boring and bland last night.
And I think the proof is in the pudding. They say the ratings were down again this year. So we'll have to look and see what kind of excitement they give us or don't give us next year. Meanwhile, we've got our first guest standing by. We're going to music by Mr. Darren Michael Boyd, amazing guitarist. I think you're going to like his unique style and some of the things he does, not just with the guitar, but with his music. Listen to Lifting the Curse. There you go. Darren Michael Boyd. It's called Lifting the Curse. We're going to bring Darren in here right now, say hello to him, and find out a little bit more about him. Hello, Darren.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great, hello. Darren. So glad you could be here with us today. And what an interesting composition. The first thing that struck me about your music and the way you present it is the songs are almost beyond a song as we know it. They're more like little operettas.
That's it's really interesting. I never thought about that. To me, I was approaching the writing in a pretty similar way that I would write a song, with vocals. But of course, it does allow you the freedom to explore a little bit of different territory, and you have to keep it interesting, right? Because there's no words there, so
right.
Yeah, so that's
well, you definitely,
a different way.
You've definitely kept it interesting, and what struck me was the way the song will open up with a feeling, a kind of a mood setting, and then it will transition to something a little more powerful, a little stronger, and then it's like later you bring in the whole orchestra, and you got the big, the main fanfare and scene, and it just transitions like a mini operetta in those terms. What did you think, John Bon Jovial?
I liked it, and Darren, welcome to the show. I was just fascinated listening to the peaks and valleys of your guitar work, and that you bring it up to a crescendo and back it off a little bit, and then go back in again. So I guess the obvious question, at least to me, that I have to ask you is, how did you develop this style of playing?
That's a really good question. That's almost, I'm not even sure how to answer that. It's a great question. I've just been playing for a long time. I love so many different kinds of music, and in fact, it seems like I put less effort into the guitar of this whole album because that's my first instrument. I just like writing songs, but because I was wearing all the hats and doing the production and the different instruments and all that, the guitar was like second nature. So when I listen back now, I go, I probably should have put more work into that part of it, as a guitar player. But either way, I'm still quite happy with the way it all turned out.
What about the band? Now, are you playing everything, or do you have some bandmates helping you out on this?
No, I did everything except for one song, which but all that one, that's all me. And it's like the drums, for example, are kind of a hybrid of me actually playing and programming, but I did all of that too.
Well, it's amazing what you can do with a computer today. We keep finding out newer and newer things every single day that can be done with a computer, as far as programming music, programming radio. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, and it's the technology that is here to stay. But I'm glad to hear that you are putting yourself into it and not relying on the technology to give you the final result.
Yeah, and then it's a really good point, because when I listen to the CD or the album, I actually have the physical CD, but the album, when I listen to it, I think there are a lot of human errors. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that's not perfect, and that's exactly what I want. I want it to be, a person playing instruments, not a computer playing instruments. So. Which there's a place for that too, but that's not what I wanted for this particular project.
Well, that's part of the expressiveness of music. It's like a human expressing themselves. Nothing is going to be expressed perfectly. Oh, Lord, I know. I listen to these shows and I go back and say, "Wow, that was a dumb thing to say." But anyway, that's part of the expressiveness.
That's my life.
Exactly, that's part of what makes
that's why
music
I play guitar
soulful. Exactly, the soulful experience that it is. Now, listen, Darren, you're from Canada, and, well, I know that, around 17, you started working with a band called Purgatory that morphed into Boomerang, and people can find all of that online and read about your history and everything. What I'd like to know is what got you to that point at age 17 where you moved out like that. Where did Darren Michael Boyd come from, and how did he get to that 17-year-old kid?
Oh, it started when I was about 7. Well, I was 7. I still remember it clearly. I got my first Kiss record. It's a pretty common story, I think, for musicians. So that first Kiss album, and then probably within the same week or so, I got an Alice Cooper record, and that just changed everything. And they were my superheroes, and so I learned. I wanted to play music, wanted to write songs, and Yeah, and that was just it. It took me, obviously, I wasn't really going to form a band at 7, but it wasn't for lack of trying. But eventually, by the time I get to be about 16 or 17, found like-minded buddies, and that's how it all started.
You've definitely come into your own, and as I was saying earlier, your musical style, the way you present it, is really impressive in itself, and of course, your talents as a musician go without question. I want to bring out a rather unusual point. We don't get stories like this with guests very often, but you have another talent, I understand, and that is writing about reptiles.
Oh, I write about them, but I also, I've had that business for, many years. That's been my business is commercial breeding and doing educational reptile shows for birthday parties and schools and fairs and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I've been doing that for a lot of years. Reptiles became a passion. When I was 7, this is the funny thing. When I was 7, I knew that I wanted to either be a rock star or own my own zoo. And I kind of kept, not exactly by definition, but I kept true to the original vision of working with animals and music.
That's an interesting...
And of course,
it's an interesting combination.
Yeah. And I love all animals, but yeah.
You're working on a reptile-based book now, as I understand.
Oh, is it about politicians?
Yeah, don't get me started. Let's see. Was it working on it? I don't know. Because I'm not working on one right now, but I'm not sure where that it
could have been notes from an earlier time, but it indicated that you were working on a reptile-based book and that you were thinking of branching out into fiction.
Oh wow, yeah, that's like I remember that from many years ago. But no, that didn't actually materialize because I got too busy. So yeah, that's the funny thing. I'm surprised that's still written somewhere.
Oh, the internet. Once it's there forever.
Once posted, it never dies.
Yeah, and it's great doing interviews because people dig into these things and then ask you, and you go, "Wow, where did you find that?"
Well, that's the thing. We like to do a little homework and know a little bit about the person, but the really great part is getting to actually talk with that person and learn about them from themselves. Now, you've got all this music going on. What are your plans for the immediate future?
With the album and this music, you mean?
Right.
Right. Well, it's fascinating because when I was doing this, I didn't think there would be any sort of demand or anybody would care enough for that I would be playing live this kind of instrumental stuff. I just thought it's kind of weird. And, people would like listening to it, maybe be in a movie soundtrack, that kind of thing. But apparently I was wrong. There are a lot of people asking for live shows. So I did one with some friends, and we just kind of whipped it together. But I'd like to do something better than whip it together. So that's hopefully in the future. We're going to work on a live show. I am already working on a second release, which I don't want to kind of jinx myself, but I'm looking towards the fall again for a release. Oh, and more videos. I have some pretty crazy videos up on YouTube that I completely shot myself and edited myself.
Always a market for crazy videos.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope that you keep us in mind. Hope you'll keep us in mind in the future. You do come out with some new music or something, give us a yell. We'd like to be able to play it and maybe have you come back here and talk about it. And before we play this next track, one thing I'd like you to do is go ahead and tell the people how they can find you, where they can find you online.
Okay, well, I'm pretty much everywhere except for Twitter, as far as I know. So you can find me on Instagram or YouTube, please subscribe. It's lonely there. And it's all Darren Michael Boyd.